Hello everyone and welcome back to Greenpine Zoo and Gardens. We are back and I have very good news for you. You can already see and experience it. We don't have any lags anymore for our real-time parts, for our cinematic tours. So I'm very happy and pleased to let you guys now see a little bit more of the habitat for the Lar gibbon and the otters, as well as our Asian water monitors, which we built the habitat for in last week's episode. Don't worry, these two here, those gibbons, are alive. They are just stunned or whatever, I don't know. I'm very sorry that I can't show you how they are climbing, but after deleting some of the rope pieces, they are finally able to go all the way up and use all the climbing frames. So if you're building something like that, remember that you are doing the rope pieces not on every single piece of the bamboo, because that would cause a problem for the climbing animation for the animals. So last week's episode, the Asian water monitors, which are happy but not too happy because they don't have enough space when it comes to the water area, and also slightly less space on the land side, which they would usually need. But they are very much okay, and I think we're going to have babies as well, as we are going to have for the small clawed otters. By the end of the episode, I think we will have a baby for them. So, before we start into today's episode, you know what time it is right now. Yeah, exactly. It is the perfect time for you guys to hit the like button for this video or subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any future stuff here in Greenpine Zoo and Gardens. The first thing that we are going to do today is build some toilets for our guests. Because I noticed, we do have toilets in our restaurant, the Urban Plate it is called. But we don't have any restaurants inside the zoo, so I thought this would make perfect sense to have some toilets here. Did I say restaurants? Toilets. So it would make totally sense to have some toilets in here. I think I told you that it is very important to have toilets at the beginning of your zoo, because when I think about me, when we are visiting a zoo, most of the time we have to go there for like an hour before we arrive, and then once you arrived, the first thing you have to do is, where's the toilet? So you don't want to run all across the zoo and see everything in fast forward mode, so you want to have a toilet right next to the entrance. And that's what we are having right here. So you only have to walk along this the Siamang habitat, the gibbon habitat, and then there's these heavily themed toilets. Yeah, heavily themed because I thought it would make total sense to have these toilets themed as well, because I told you in the beginning when we were building the zoo, or even before I started building it, that I wanted to have something like an adventurous zoo with heavy themed areas and stuff, and so I thought, why not have heavily themed toilets here as well? By talking about that, I might put those on the workshop. Yeah, I think I'm going to do this, and I'm going to put the link for that in the video description so you can download the toilets for yourself if you want to have them. And afterwards we are going to build the next habitat for the next animals in our zoo. So in last week's episode, I said that I wanted to have something for some kind of hoofstock. It is time to have some hoofstock in here, and I was thinking about which animal could go in here, which animal would make sense. Could we combine some animals to live along each other? And I was thinking about the Babirusa and the axis deer. Or what was it called else? I think there is a name that it is called in English that is more common than axis deer. In German we call it axis Hirsch. So this means axis deer, as I said. Just give me a second and I will look this up and Google it. Because I found it very interesting. I never heard about that. So, come on Google, let's go. Takes a little time. Google is a little bit lazy right now. It is early in the morning, I have to tell you. It is 9:15 today as I'm recording the voiceover for this video. I built this on Sunday, the whole thing here, and now it is 9:15 on Monday, so the same day that this video is going to be released. So I'm very late with that stuff. I haven't recorded anything else for this week, but I will do after a dentist appointment today. I will make sure that there is at least a new episode on my DLC Zoo series. So, axis deer wiki. So, yeah, Wikipedia says it is called chital, which is very, very interesting. Because I learned some things about the chital or axis deer that I didn't know yet. The axis deer is pretty common in European zoos, in many Asian habitats, mixed habitats. Yeah, with sometimes with nilgai and blackbuck, sometimes even with Indian rhinos, which is also pretty cool. It is a little bit smaller than the fallow deer, and I think the coloration of it is a little bit more intense than it is with the fallow deer that is so common you can see it everywhere in Europe. So let's see, because the chital is not only native, well, it is only native in South Asia, but it is also now native in Australia, I think. Yeah. Wikipedia says the chital was the first species of deer introduced into Australia in the early 1800s. So there's also wild chitals in Australia, but not just in Australia, also in the United States. So you have chital on Hawaii, which is crazy to me, because why would you introduce animals from different continents to your country? That doesn't make sense, because a lot of the time when you do something like this, it causes a major problem for the native animals that are living there, and also for the native plants. But yeah, we're not going too deep into that. That is something for another video. They also were introduced to Texas, which doesn't surprise me, because many animals were introduced to Texas. I think also the nilgai was introduced to Texas. Yeah. Self-sustaining herds were present in 27 countries in Central and South Texas in 1988. So yeah, I think they are still roaming this area. And they also were introduced to Croatia in Europe in 1911. Yeah, in 2010 there were about 200 individuals on some islands in Croatia. Yeah, and they also have been introduced to Colombia. So this makes them a very common species on all continents. So we do have Australia, we do have North America, we do have South America. Oh, we don't have Africa. So no cheetahs in Africa. But yeah, crazy. So, but let's get back to the point that I was talking about when I was thinking about a habitat for some kind of hoofstock and a mixed habitat and stuff like that. So yeah, my idea was having the Babirusa and the cheetah or the axis deer. We don't have the axis deer here in the game, so I thought, as it looks much like the fallow deer, we're just using the fallow deer and combine the habitat and combine them with the Babirusa, which will work out pretty fine, I can tell you. You can see it in the end of the video in the real-time part. I'm really happy how this works. And I asked you guys if you know any other hoofstock that we could put in here that would make sense, especially for the Southeast Asia area. And I totally forgot about the wild water buffalo. So I haven't thought about that. That would also make such a great animal to put in a hoofstock habitat. But yeah, as I said, we are going to have the cheetah and the Babirusa. So therefore, our toilet is already finished. I'm going to build the stable or the shelter for the animals right now. Once again, crazy. I'm building it right out of my head, especially not crazy because I'm so creative, and no, that's not what I meant. Crazy because I once again built the whole thing and didn't check if the animals were able to walk through the doors that I was building here. You can see two smaller ones on the left side, which are thought for the fallow deer, and two bigger ones on the right side. The two smaller ones for the Babirusa, of course, and on the right side, the two bigger ones for the fallow deer. I have to say I'm very lucky that all of these gates work perfectly fine for the animals. Well, the bigger ones not so much for the male fallow deer, because the male fallow deer has a different hitbox than the females do have, which makes sense because the male has these huge antlers. So I had to make it a little bit bigger so that the male could walk in and out of the shelter, which was quite interesting because the females don't have a problem to go into the shelter for the Babirusa, which is pretty much smaller, but the females are able to go in there. So yeah, as I said, this was very interesting, but everything works as it should, and that's all that matters. So I was trying to go not too much into the temple style for this building. We do have some of the temple style pillars here, for sure, because I want the area to look pretty much cohesive, but I also wanted it to be more like a traditional shelter for the animals. So that's what I was going for. We're going to have separate indoor areas, as I already said for the Babirusa, the smaller ones, because you want to separate the animals once they are in their indoor enclosure, because when it is a smaller area that the animals can use and they can't escape each other, there can be some problems, and we want to avoid that. And therefore, as I said, we are having 2 different indoor areas, and we also do have in the end of the video a separation on both of those, so that you can separate the male and the female from each other. Especially when there are babies in there, you always want to separate those animals. That is something, yeah, that I always tell when I build something like this. It's not just when they have babies. Also, when you do have a sick animal or an injured animal, you want to have the choice or the possibility to separate them from each other. Therefore, we will also have a smaller outdoor enclosure. So if we are going to separate the male, especially when we don't want to have any more babies in here, we can have the male in the smaller outdoor area, whilst the females and the Babirusa are going to use the whole big outdoor enclosure. But we're coming to that in a few minutes, I think. So here you can see I'm doing the layout for the indoor habitat right now, building the frame for the stables for the animals, combining the concrete pieces with lots of wood pieces. We are also going to have some fake entrance gates for the enclosures, because we do need 4 of them, and yeah, we can only have 1 so far. But it is not that hard to build those fake gates, especially when you use the wooden gates. They are pretty easy to rebuild, or at least have them look like something very similar. It is also not that hard for the metal gate, and I think I never tried it with the glass one. So yeah, I think I'm gonna try that at one point as well. But with all the different building pieces that we do have here in the game, it is not that hard to recreate something that we don't have in the game. So I'm really falling in love with all the Indonesian pieces right here. Not using them on a regular basis usually, but I really do like those wooden pieces because they have such a nice texture and work so well, especially for such stuff as this indoor habitat here. Having the mesh fence in here as well. And I think it already looks pretty realistic, don't you think? Perfect. So we just need to have the gates in here as well, and then we might be done with that part at least. Yeah, it took me quite a while to create the shelter for the animals. I think the whole build here for toilet, shelter and outdoor habitat was once again about 5 or 6 hours that it took me. But in the end I'm very, very happy. I have to tell you guys, in the beginning when I started building this, I didn't have any idea on how to build any of this. Didn't have an idea or a Google image where I could create something for the toilet. Didn't have something for the shelter for the animals here. Didn't have something for the outdoor habitat. I just, like I do most of the times, or like I love to do, is just go into the game and, yeah, not to say the youth word vibing, but it is what it is. Just going with the flow, go with what you feel, go with what is happening. Be creative and just do it. And that's what I did here, and in the end I'm very happy with how the whole thing looks. I think it looks pretty realistic, to be fair. Not to be fair, to be completely honest with you guys. Yeah. This is something that I also love to do and haven't done in quite a while, I think. I love to build the skeleton for the roof of a building. It makes it so much easier and so much more realistic when you do that once you are inside the building and have a look on the ceiling. You have this nice wooden structure, yeah, that gives the perfect shelter feeling, and it's not that hard to do that. So if you just use those wooden beams and create something like a roof structure, and in the end you just use some grid-free pieces to create the actual roof, pretty easy. So here's the fake doors right now, using the Indonesian wood pieces as well for that. And those African wooden beams, which are also perfect for that. And just something that looks like a lock. Therefore I was using those small metal pieces here. Yeah, and we are done with that. So here you can see the wooden structure for the roof once again, using those roof pieces here as well that we already did use for our main entrance building. And here you can see the beautiful structure of the wooden pieces inside of the building. So just use the roof pieces, turn them around for 180 degrees, and there you go. Yeah, and so we are already almost done with the whole building. Now it's time to take care of the actual habitat for the animals. I had something in my mind that I wanted to accomplish. Usually I wanted the path to go on straight forward right here. And we are going to have something like a huge temple where you go staircases upwards, and there's going to be a monkey habitat or something like that on the left side, and a habitat for a big cat on the right side, for example, which I envisioned in my mind. I'm not sure if I really am going to do that, but that's what I wanted to do. But then I thought, okay, I'm not going to move the shelter for the animals that we built right here to any different location, but I needed the habitat to be a little bit bigger for all the animals that are going to be in there. So I decided we are going to have the path a little more going to the right side, so that we have a curve in here, which is also pretty cool, because when you enter the gates of the zoo you don't see everything, but you are also catching a glimpse on the rear end of the path, so that you can see all this jungle vibes, right, left and center, and yeah, it looks pretty cool. Yeah, and with that being said, when I was talking about the temple with a monkey habitat or with some kind of a big cat habitat, what animals do you guys want to see next? I think we definitely need another habitat right next to the Asian water monitor to continue with our natural path around there and maybe connect it to the main path afterwards. So I think we need a smaller animal there. Not a complete big one, not a huge animal, but maybe a smaller one. Any ideas for you of you guys? Any animal that you definitely want to see? It has to be from the Asian area, and it would make total sense if it was a tropical animal. So if you can think of any animal, let me know in the comment section. I would be happy to get some inspiration for you of you guys, what animal we could put in there. So creating the fence, with some very easy pieces, just using those mesh fence pieces and some of the Indonesian stone pieces once again to close off the habitat. What I also did, what you already could see in the separation habitat for the male deer, I'm using these pieces here. I think, no, it's not called blankets, but yeah, let me have a look at it. Didn't have to Google a word today, just the name of the deer. Almost made it through the whole video, but yeah, not completely. Let's see. Fabric, damn it, I know that word. Okay, just using those fabric pieces to close the view of the animals to the outside. Not so much closing the view for everyone that is walking behind that to the inside, but for the animals to the outside. And there's a reason for it. If you guys know any different reason, just let me know in the comment section. But I think the main reason why zoos do that is, first of all, money. You don't have all the money to create very scenic backgrounds with faux rocks and stuff like that, but that's not the main reason. The main reason why you do that is especially for animals, for hoofstock. I have to look up a word again. Yeah, so because hoofstock is in times very shy and also very easily startled or very nervous. So if they are scared, they start running. And to prevent them from running into the fence and hurt themselves very badly, you do something like this, especially with a dark fabric, so that the animals see that they can't go there. There is nothing behind that, so that they won't run into the fence. So that is something why this is done in zoos. And also to not get disturbed by everything around that. So if someone's walking behind there, or there's noise behind there or whatsoever, so that the animals feel more safe and secure in here. So as I said, If you know any different reasons or any additional reasons why this is done, let me know in the comment section, and I would be happy to learn about that as well, because I know some of you guys actually are working in zoos and do have some kind of inside information, and I'm always happy to learn something new about that. So the last thing that we are doing before we are going to finish the whole thing here is building something to save our trees from animal bites. So when you do have hoofstock in your habitats, usually, especially deer, are eating the bark of the trees, and you want to prevent that. So you have to come up with something like this. That prevents any damage to your trees, and it also makes the whole thing look more realistic and more nice, and it is pretty easy to build. As you could see, you just use some of those small wooden beams, just use small metal pieces in between that would connect those wooden pieces, circle it around, copy it, and you're done. It's easy as that. And it's very effective. As I said, it is looking very realistic, and yeah. And once again, to keep it realistic, not too many plants in here in the habitat, because we do have the deer. They would eat all the grass in here, especially when it's not a very huge habitat, so that the grass can regrow. So not many plants in here, the stuff around the trees to save them, and just have dirt and sand on the floor to have it realistic. And we are also having excuse me, we are also having the natural water in here for the animals to have a drink, where I also put the mud bath in there so that the animals can use that, and in addition to that can also drink out of it, which is pretty cool. Some more plants around the habitat so that we don't lose that jungly feeling. So just put some trees behind that. Here you can see the huge effect it has on the whole habitat. And then some more tropical plants around it, so that we do have the tropical vibe still. And what I'm also trying to do is not to have one habitat after another, so that we do have some kind of scenic gaps in here, or some plants in right in between, because usually when you go to a zoo, it's not all the time one habitat after another. So you have some kind of breaks in there with just with some plants, with a shop or whatever, and then there's the next habitat. And I'm also trying to do that, which is pretty difficult for me because I'm not used to that. But I'm trying to make it as realistic as I possibly could make it. So last part, animal enrichment, and then we are done with everything, and we have our fourth habitat right now, which is pretty cool. The zoo is coming together, I think. And I'm very excited for the next habitat that is going to be built next week. I don't have a clue what it is going to be. So once again, if you have any ideas, let me know in the comment section. And with that being said, welcome to the real-time part. I hope you guys had fun. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. And if you did so, just leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel. And I hope to see you guys once again next week, when we are going to continue to build in Greenpine Zoo and Gardens. As long as that, bye!